Hey, what's up, guys? Christian here. And before we jump into this video on this exclusive training I did, I wanted to kind of quickly give you guys some insight on what this training is from. This training is an exclusive live webinar I did for members of Six Figure Medicare University. If you're not familiar with Six Figure Medicare University, it's my online training platform with over 240 videos of training content about how to build a successful Medicare agency. It's a $50 a month subscription fee. I'm putting this training up here about calling leads, tonalities, directing the call in your direction, right? Fact finding, just all about selling and calling leads and doing it right, and also doing a correct and proper Turn in 65 presentation. This is an hour-long training on just straight up nuggets and gold about how I would recommend calling leads and what made me so successful in calling leads over the course of my career. This is a training that typically you could only get by being a member of Six Figure Medicare University. I'm going to put it up here on the channel today as a preview to you guys of what you're missing out on if you're not in the university. There's a link to the university actually down in the description of this video. So if you're interested in learning more about it and getting in, and you actually also get to sit in on these live Thursday training calls each and every week on different topics. We have guests on, and it's really next level content. If you really enjoy our videos on this channel, you'll enjoy the trainings within Six Figure Medicare University even more because it's just the next level above that. I also wanted to talk to you guys about this video sponsor, and that's of course Lead Heroes. They've got you covered when it comes to virtual staffing as well as telemarketing leads, Medicare supplement leads, final expense leads, Turn in 65 leads. Their virtual staff members are incredibly well trained. They're vetted, so that way you know you're getting a good person. Link to their site is also down in the description, as well as a coupon code for 10% off any order you make on the website just because you watch this video. Without further ado, enjoy. Okay. So first things first, we got to get make sure that I think everything's working. Hey, Rebecca.
Hey there, how's it going?
Just peachy, peaches and cream.
I want to see your green or I'm pinching you. Both of you.
Is that today?
Oh my.
It's today.
I'm not wearing green.
Well, you got me. You virtually pinched. I don't got nothing.
Pinch.
I don't think anyone in the office is wearing green. I can go pinch everyone else.
They'll pinch you back.
Yeah, probably. Okay, so how's my sound coming through this morning? So we're using a mic over here because we're going to be doing some whiteboard training with you guys.
It's good.
Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to just give it just a second here because I don't know, the last couple of weeks we've had a lot of people coming in late for some reason. And I just want to make sure that we give everybody a chance to get in, because once I step away from the computer, I won't be watching. I want for people to come in.
That's why I need an assistant to let people in the room.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, I'm just going to go because we only got so much time, right? We're only young once. Okay. I am going to mute everybody. Hope you guys don't mind. Okay, guys. Good morning or afternoon. Hope all you guys are all having a great week so far. And so what kind of inspired me to do this training today was, as many of you know, this is my wife, Stormy, and she's had her license since 2016.
Since December of 16.
And, she's kind of come in and out of the office helping with different things. But right before last AEP, she's wanted to be an agent and come into the office and sell. And so I've been working with her and trying to teach her some things. And so we've had her dial in some old direct mail leads the last couple of months, just because I think it's really good practice, right? I think it's a good idea to cut your teeth, especially when you're calling leads. And we're big on calling leads here in my office. And so we were doing a training the other day about this exact topic, and it was kind of just a one-on-one thing. I kind of wish I recorded it, but I didn't. Shame on me. And we were talking about dialing leads, what to say when you first get on the phone, overcoming objections, but also steering the phone call in a way to where it's going to go in your direction, controlling the call, but you want to do it in a way that you're talking very smoothly, right? You're being very smooth on the phone. You're controlling the call, but you're not being necessarily aggressive. And this is something that is my style of calling and doing phone sales. And or maybe even you're just making appointments. I think it all relates, right? Whether you're calling leads to make appointments to go to a house, or maybe you're calling leads to make another appointment. It might be, hang on. Okay, whatever the case might be, I think it does relate. And it's taken me years of kind of trial and error. I can't tell you how many leads or phone calls I've made over the years. I mean, gosh, 100,000? I don't know.
That many?
I don't know,
It's
maybe.
been a lot, but
Probably. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know how many phone calls I've made. I have no freaking idea, but I've made a lot of phone calls. I've called every kind of lead. I've cold called. And I feel like just over the years, I've kind of perfected my strategy. And I wanted to kind of spend all the time we have available today with you guys going through this strategy, how I conduct a phone call. And Stormy's here to help me because I think it helps me to have somebody to role play with. And then, of course, at the end, I'm going to try to leave it open to answer any questions that you guys may have. And while we go through this, I'm going to slurp down my super sugary, disgusting coffee drink. It's disgusting in general of what's in it, but I love it. It's not disgusting to me. But all right, guys. So without further ado, I'm going to flip the camera over here, over to the whiteboard, and we will just kind of jump right in. Okay, so let's see. I want to make sure that we got a good angle there. That looks good. Now, actually, before we do that, I'm going to spotlight so you guys can see what I'm writing, because with me being super small, you won't see anything. Spotlight. There we go. Better. Okay. All right. The camera up, not the camera, the microphone up here. So maybe it's a little bit closer, and let's boogie. Okay, so, all right. So the first thing I want to talk about today is, oh, real quick, guys, throw in the chat. How can you hear me okay from here? I want to make sure before I jump into this that the sound's coming through okay. Give me some thumbs up. Give me some yes. Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Lori. Thanks, Rebecca. Thanks, Lisa. Perfect. Okay. All right. So I get asked all the time from people questions about the best way to conduct a phone call. Now, I did a video with Medicare Bob on Tuesday. We shot it together. It's an 1.5 hour long masterpiece. And for those of you who don't know Medicare Bob, who don't know Beish, Beish lives in Florida. He lives in Tampa, works in Clearwater. And he built a call center in about 9 to 10 years, basically from scratch, right? That encompassed over 20,000 clients. And he sold it to AmeriLife for, I don't know if I should tell you. I'm going to tell you, but that's only because this is a private setting, right? If this was a public YouTube video, I probably wouldn't do it. Can you watch that and let people in when they're in the waiting room?
how do I get them in?
Here, so I don't want to leave anybody out. So you scroll over them, hit admit.
So every time I see admin, just click
Yes,
it.
when someone's in the waiting room, just keep an eye on it every so often.
Okay.
Okay, so Beish sold his company to AmeriLife about 2 years ago. It was actually during AEP of 2020 that they finalized the deal. And what he told me was it was upwards of about $50 million total. So one thing that we talked about in this video, and this video actually is going to go public on the YouTube video today. So watch for it. It's going to go up today at about 5 to 6 Eastern. I can't remember the specific time we scheduled it for, and we talk a lot about this. And I'm going to reiterate something that we talked about in that video together, because him and I share this philosophy. And that's that when it comes to explaining Medicare on the phone, you're going to be better off by keeping it simple opposed to overwhelming them with the knowledge that you have. Why is this? Well, we live in a society, and I think it's more relevant today than ever, but people have very short attention spans. So when you were dialing leads, what was something I was telling you were maybe not doing wrong necessarily, but something that you could fix?
I would say with my issue, when I would try to get someone to understand what I'm talking about, I would over explain something.
Yeah.
Like a good example is like part A and part B. The way you normally would explain it is part A just covers the whole physical building, whereas I would try to go into further detail than that, and that would be confusing to them.
Yeah, I think I see some people that they'll go into like, oh, part A, you have a $1,500 to $1,600 deductible, right? Part B, from days 1 through 60, this is what you pay. And they'll go, and I've done this myself, guys. So I'm not beating up on anybody that does this, but your explanation of Medicare Part A and Part B should be about 3 minutes or less. You need to explain things to them that they actually need to know. I think if you overdo it with your information, and I'm going to come back to this in a second because I want to start off with like the intro of a phone call, but if you're overcomplicating the presentation, especially on Part A and Part B, you're going to lose their interest, right? Because nowadays more than ever, everybody has a short attention span, right? Seniors are no different, especially people that are turning 65. They have their phones just like we do. They're glued to their phones all the time, just like we are. And they're used to not having to focus on something necessarily that hard. I know I am, right? So you have to really get to the point with that. I'm going to come back to that in a second because I'm going to kind of shift into starting off a phone call, right? So when I'm starting off a phone call, one thing that you guys need to understand when you're calling somebody, no matter what it is, right? Let's say it's a direct mail lead. That's my favorite one to practice with. Do me a favor real quick. You know that stack of direct mail leads on my desk?
I think it's by your desk, yeah.
Can you go get them?
Yeah, those little white postcards.
Yeah. So I like to start off the conversation by, just practicing with direct mail leads, but I feel like it's something that you guys can adjust the approach to with any kind of lead. And I'm happy to talk about telemarketed leads, lead hero leads, anything that you guys want me to talk about today, I'll spend some time on. But with direct mail leads in particular, I think it's a really good foundation to talk about a phone call, right? So here's some direct mail leads. We got stacks and stacks of these around here. So let's say I'm calling Kelly. It's a good one because Kelly didn't put her information on, so nothing to steal, right? All right, so this is a direct mail lead. Now, this is a rather old one, but this was Kelly Copeland, right, in Salt Lake City. So let's say I was calling Kelly. What's the main thing that you have to understand when it comes to making a phone call? Well, I would say there's 3 things that I would specify. Can you guys see the whiteboard at all? Is it even helping for me to write on it? You can barely see it, huh? I'm not even going to write on it. Rebecca says, yes, you can see it.
I think we can't see
Darker
it.
marker.
Yeah.
Do we have a black? I'm not going to worry about it, guys. I'm not going to fuss looking for stuff. So there's 3 things that, in my opinion, I would focus on. Quick to the point, confidence, and simple, right? So quick, get to the point quickly, keep it simple, and confidence when you're on the phone. So this would be my pitch when I'm calling a lead. Now, some of you have heard my pitch before, but I'm going to, someone said maybe if I move it closer. That's actually not a bad idea. Here, maybe we can salvage the whiteboard. I don't want to get too close. I don't want to be like bumping up against the desk here. You can see it?
I can see the lines.
Okay, then I'm gonna just go for it. If you can't see it, my apologies, but I think enough of you will be able to. All right, so 3 key points. Quick, to the point. Confidence. Even if it's fake confidence, make them think you are confident. And simple. you do not want to overcomplicate things with seniors. I obviously believe that less is more. And I feel like a mistake that people make is they want to vomit the information they know all over the prospect. And this is not necessarily going to help you. Now, every now and then you're going to run into somebody that's our typical engineers, right? All of us have run into an engineer guy. Engineer guy wants to make a spreadsheet.
We did over the week, remember?
There you go. Yeah, engineer guy wants to know everything. But what I always like to tell these prospects when I'm on the phone with them or when I'm sitting with them face to face, no matter what the situation is, I'm going to say, listen, you're not going to know everything that I know by the time we get out of this presentation today, but you're going to know enough to feel comfortable about making a good decision. These people don't want to be experts on Medicare. So keeping it simple is going to be really, really important. Now, I'm going to come back to that in a second here, but let's just role play for a second here, and I'll go through with you guys how I would call this lead. Now, this script I've tweaked, I've changed little bits and pieces of it up for years until it's really been a nuclear weapon for me. And this script has made me hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales. So I'm going to role play. Okay. You're Kelly.
Okay.
Now I'm just going to get through the first little bit here. After that, I want to start from scratch and I want you to give me just a little bit of pushback, not too much. We'll do a couple different scenarios here, but I also want to focus a little bit on overcoming objections, steering the phone call, and just how I would approach an objection, right? Because there's some people that they get mad. You never want to get mad. There's a lot of things we want to get into here, but let's just focus on the beginning of the phone call. So you're Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Ring, ring, ring.
Hello.
Hi, is this Kelly?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Kelly. My name is Christian. The reason for the call today, Kelly, is the last couple of weeks here, you sent a reply card back into my company requesting a little bit of information about Medicare changes here in the area. I was just getting around to getting back to you on your request. Do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions to determine if I can be of any service?
Okay.
Okay, so let's dissect that for a second here. What did I do there?
You made it really quick and simple and just flat out asked, can I go over some information to see if I could help you?
Now, depending on what you're trying to do, what your question is for them is going to be different. So I used to call with the intention that I was trying to make an appointment to go to their house.
Right.
Right. Because that's what I did for how many years? A lot of years, right?
Like at least 3 or 4 years, the very first 3-4 years.
Yeah. And so now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to fact find.
Yeah.
Because if I can make a sale over the phone, that's great. Or even if I can get them to come into the office, if they're local here, that's great too. I'm not trying to necessarily just get an appointment because I'm seasoned. Some of you guys are already very seasoned and you don't need to just get as many appointments as possible because you can get bad appointments. There's such a thing as bad appointments,
right?
To where you can't help them. Maybe they don't have an SEP. Maybe they're stuck on their plan. Maybe they're on the best plan. Maybe they have a great med sup rate. Maybe they have health problems with a med sup. You can't move them, whatever the case might be. So I want to go right into my fact find, because if I go into my fact find, I can find out in less than 5 minutes what their situation is. Now, this is not a turning 65 presentation. This is a direct mail card of someone that's probably already on Medicare. I'll go into T65 a little bit later if you guys want me to. And I'll go into what, me and Beish talked about with the turning 65 presentation and all that stuff, but I'll come back to that. So I'm trying to fact find because I want to find out really quickly what their situation is. Now, what am I asking for when I'm on the phone with this person? I'm not asking for information, right? I'm not asking for a commitment. I'm not asking for anything other than just to run through a couple questions with them. It's very non-threatening. And I find, you've seen me call leads a lot.
Right.
How often do people give me pushback on that? Sometimes they do, but probably more often than not, they're willing to talk to me.
9 times out of 10, I'd say they at least engage in a conversation, even a minute or two with you before they get a feel and be like, oh, okay, I'll talk to you further, or they'll hang up.
Right. And so that's all that I need is I just need a short conversation to kind of verify the person. So again, going through the script, I'm calling up. I'm using, and some of this stuff is going to be a little bit basic in what I'm about to say here, but some of you guys might need to learn it and know it. I'm using my first name. Some people will call up and say, hey, my name is Christian Brindle, and I'm with Senior Health Solutions. I'm not going to do that necessarily. Now, some people preach that, and that's fine. Everybody's got their own way. But for me personally, if someone called me up like that,
You get defensive right off the bat, or your shields go up.
I know they're a salesperson.
Yeah.
Right off the bat. If I call up and I just say, hey, this is Christian. The hamster in their head is running on the wheel, and they're trying to be like, okay, Christian, do I know a Christian? I'm going to get a little bit more of an opportunity to talk.
Right.
In my opinion. Now, you don't have them along either way, but so I'm going to say, this is Christian. I'm not going to say my last name. I'm not going to say my company. I'm going to say, this is Christian. And then I'm going to go right into what I'm calling about. Get to the point, right? Quick. So I'm going to say, Kelly, you sent a card back into my company in the last couple of weeks requesting some information on blah, whatever the card is, right? This particular one's dental, vision, hearing, gym membership. It's a Medicare Advantage lead card. So I'd say, I'm getting back to you. This plants the seed in their mind that they requested the information, and I'm providing a service by responding to them. And technically speaking, if you buy a lead and you're calling a lead, that is exactly what you're doing.
Right.
They have asked for information of some kind. And they might have not expected a phone call. Some people expect to get something in the mail when they send these back in, but it doesn't necessarily say on most of these cards. Some of them do. You want to watch out for those, but most of them don't specifically say they're going to get something in the mail. So this is just us getting them the information. I've heard some people say, just get an appointment. I've heard some people say, I'm a field underwriter in your area and I just want to drop off this information. I think that's how you waste a lot of time, personally. That's a lot of windshield time, and you have no idea what this person has. You don't know anything. I want to work smarter, not harder. Right? And so I'm trying to get my information right off the bat, right? So this is Christian. I'm getting back to you, Kelly, on this information that you sent back in. I'm accommodating you, Kelly. I'm accommodating you. I'm responding to your request. Do you mind if I ask you a couple questions to determine if I can be of service? Right? Most people are going to be okay with that. Now, leads are leads, sales are sales. You're going to get rejection even if you do everything right. However, I'm trying to find out if this person is even a good candidate for me. Because if they're not, I don't want to waste 45 minutes on them. I don't want to waste 15 minutes driving to their house, another 20 minutes talking to them at their house to find out that I can't do anything when I can find this out right now. You guys see what I'm doing here? So what questions would I go into with a person like this? The questions I'm going to ask are to depend on kind of what kind of lead I'm working, right? If I'm dealing with a turning 65 person, my questions will be a little bit different. And like I said, I'll spend some time specifically on turning 65 if you guys want me to. But let's go through the questions. Let's say you're not giving me a lot of pushback.
Right.
And I want to do a scenario where you do give me pushback. Okay. But first I want to do it where you don't, because I want to go over the questions that I would actually ask in a situation like this. Okay. So this is just, and this is a lead that would work well during AEP, OEP. Might be a little bit tougher around the off season.
Yeah.
So let's start from scratch. I'm calling up. Ring, ring, ring.
Hello?
Hi, is this Kelly?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Kelly. My name is Christian. The reason for the call today, Kelly, is I'm getting back to you on a postcard you sent back into my company recently, requesting some information on some of the Medicare changes here in the area. Do you mind if I ask you a couple questions to determine if I can be of any service?
Okay.
Perfect. Okay. Kelly, I assume that you're already on Medicare. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And do you have any kind of Medicare health plan or Medicare supplementary plan that goes with your Medicare?
Yeah, I have Cigna.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Do you know if you pay any monthly premium for that?
No, I don't think I do.
Okay, so it sounds to me like you have a Medicare Advantage plan.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, perfect. So I'm actually pretty familiar with that plan. One thing I wanted to kind of talk with you about is really just kind of how your plan compares to other plans in the marketplace, Kelly. I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's a lot of different insurance companies that offer plans very similarly to yours here in the market. And sometimes they're a good fit for somebody, but sometimes they're not. Is there anything, would it be okay if I told you a little bit more about how your plan compares to some other plans in the market?
Sure, I have a minute.
Perfect. Okay. So one thing, now this is where it can get kind of tricky, guys. I'm going to pause. So this is where it can get kind of tricky because technically speaking, in a phone call like that, I'm supposed to get a scope right there. Okay. So that's where things get a little hairy. And what I mean by that is you're going to have to get the person to sign a scope. So if it's a situation like that, you can tell right off the bat what they have. They have a Cigna Medicare Advantage plan. Let's say I know the plans in my market right off the top of my head. I know their problem is network.
Mm-hmm.
I know that their advantage is what?
It has a PPO.
Well, yes, but dental.
Oh yes, the
Part B
2000.
give back. That's
Yep.
the good thing that it has. Part B give back dental, but its weakness is network.
Right.
So probably before I go into that, what I would say is, let me ask you a quick question, Kelly. Does that plan cover all your doctors? Or have you had to give up any doctors have been on that plan?
I had to give up a few and get some new ones.
Okay. On the off chance, if there was a plan available that gave you comparable benefits to what you have with them, but maybe you were able to get those other doctors back, would that be something you might be interested in?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So then what I would do is I'd probably go into the scope because I want to talk benefits with this person, right? So I would say, Kelly, there's actually a document, a form that the government typically makes me kind of go through. It's a government requirement. It's more for your protection than anything else. That just gives me that your permission to talk about specific plan benefits, including yours. And it's more than anything else just to say that I didn't reach out to you without any request on your end. It's more for your protection to protect you from solicitations and things like that. Would that be something we could go through just real quickly? It would probably take 60 seconds.
Sure.
Okay, great. So I would go into Kelly. Is this phone we're talking on right now, is it a mobile phone? A cell phone?
Yes.
Perfect. Does it receive text messages?
Yes, it does.
Okay, great. Would it be okay if I sent a link to you in a text message? If you have a smartphone, I'm assuming you do.
Yeah.
And if they don't, right, guys, there's a couple other things you can do. You can send it to their email. You can do a telephonic one. Scopes are scopes. They're necessary evil. We got to go through them, right? But let's just assume the stars align. I can text it to her. So I'll go through that. I'll be like, all right, let me get a good, so I'm just going to repeat the cell phone number, just make sure I have it back. I have it right, 801-555-5555.
Yep.
I'll send the scope. I'll walk them through how to do it. Then once I'm through that process, then I'm going to go into the specific benefits of the plan. I'm going to say, okay, so I'll tell you what I like about your plan. I'll tell you what I don't like if you don't mind.
Okay.
What I like about your plan is it's got good dental. You probably noticed that. It's got a little bit of a Part B give back benefit. I don't know if you even realize that you have that. But what that is it's a benefit that actually works with an insurance company, works with Medicare and Social Security to lower your Medicare Part B premium by a set amount. In your case, it's $30 a month. So essentially, it's lowering your Medicare Part B premium by $30 a month, which is normally $170 a month. Were you aware that you had that?
Yeah, I noticed my Part B premium wasn't the regular amount.
Perfect. So there's a lot to like about your plan on paper, but where it's probably lacking, like I mentioned, is the network. In my opinion, it doesn't have the biggest hospital systems around here. There is a company that is probably comparable to what you have, and it depends on what's available in your area, right? I'm going to try to have that conversation right there and then with them on the phone. Some people have a tough conversation. They have a tough time having the scope conversation right there off the bat. And some people do get turned off by it. We've all experienced it. There's really no way around it. But if you feel like you're having a tough time doing the scope conversation over the phone, then book an appointment to go to their house or have them come into your office if you have an office, if they're in the area, right? Like try to have that conversation. If you see an opening, if you can determine what they have right then and there, then a lot of times you'll be able to know, okay, I can probably beat this plan. This is worth my time. Now, depending on how you want to do it, there's no way around having a scope conversation, but some of us might have an easier time having it in person than over the phone.
Right.
When the person can look you in the eyes, right? So that's kind of to each their own. I'm going to try to have it right there on the phone, but I've been doing this a long time. I didn't always do that, right? let's do one where you give me some pushback. Okay. So not a whole lot, but just a little bit, give me some common objections that people have given you on the phone, and I'll tell you how I would handle it.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll start from scratch. Okay. So ring, ring, ring.
Hello?
Hi, is this Kelly?
Yeah, this is her.
Hi, Kelly. My name is Christian. The reason for the call today, Kelly, is I'm getting back with you on a reply card you sent back into my company in the last couple of weeks, requesting some information regarding Medicare.
Okay, slow your roll. I didn't send in any card.
Oh, not a problem at all, Kelly. Maybe someone else might have done it in your home. Is this phone we're talking on right now, is this a cell phone?
Yes.
Does it happen to receive text messages?
Yes, why?
Well, I wanted to send you a quick picture of the card that I'm looking at so you can look it over and just look it over to verify the authenticity of it, just so you know that kind of what we were receiving, and see if maybe it was someone else in your house, or maybe you've done it and maybe don't remember sending in, whatever the case might be. I just want to make sure that you can see what I'm seeing.
I got a minute. Let's just talk about whatever you were calling about.
Perfect. Okay. So the card that was sent in was requesting a little bit of information on just how maybe what your Medicare situation looks like in comparison to what's available in the marketplace. Do you mind if I ask a couple questions to determine if I can be of any service?
As long as it's quick.
Okay, perfect. So real quickly, are you on Medicare now?
Yes, I am.
Give me another objection. Give me something. So I'll say you're on Medicare now. Okay, perfect.
Yes, but I already have my Medicare set up. I already have a plan.
Okay, perfect. So one thing that I was actually looking to see is just to kind of gather a little bit of information on your specific plan, Kelly. And the reason for this is because this is a free service to you. This is no cost.
Pretty happy with what I have.
Well, absolutely. And if that's the case, then we can go our separate ways. No cost, no obligation of any kind. But at the very least, I can verify that you have the best thing you can get. So maybe you can go to sleep better at night, knowing without a shadow of a doubt that you're in the best situation. That's the worst thing that can happen from a phone call like this.
Okay.
So I'm being a little aggressive there because she's not giving me any choice other than that, right? What I'm going to try to normally do is I'm going to try to slip my way in through the conversation, right? So let's do another call, but let's say, because in a situation like that, I'm probably not going to get anywhere. Would you agree?
She's not interested, or she's just waiting to get off the phone.
She's not really. There's. I'm going to try my best, but I'm probably not going to get anywhere with that. This is another misconception when it comes to sales, that you have to close everybody.
That would be so nice.
It would be nice, but guess what? An average closing ratio for leads is what?
20%.
20%. Anything above 20% is above average. Most lead orders you're going to close 10 to 30%. 30 is the high end, 10 is on the low end.
Yeah.
That means on average, you're striking out 8 out of 10 times. So you're going to get people that even if you do everything right, there's nothing you're going to be able to do. I would rather cut my losses on a person and get off the phone than spending 45 minutes trying to push and push and push and push and push.
Right.
So in that phone call, if Kelly's like what you just did, I'm going to push a little bit, but if I don't get anywhere with it, I'm going to cut my losses and save my time. Because this is a volume business, you guys. This business is about volume. It's about having lots of conversations early and often. But you can waste a lot of your time trying to, polish a turd, if you will, right? Maybe not the most glamorous.
But it's still a turd.
Right. And you got to understand that. So part of selling is have a great day. I'll talk to you later. Move on to the next person. So give me one that's got some objections, but they're not just totally shutting me down.
Okay.
Okay. So ring, ring, ring.
Hello.
Hi, is this Kelly?
Yes. Who's this?
Hi, Kelly. My name is Christian. The reason for the call today, Kelly, is I'm getting back with you on a reply card that you sent back into my company in the last couple of weeks, requesting some information regarding Medicare and changes of Medicare here in the area. Do you mind if I ask you a couple questions to determine if I can be of any service?
Yeah, I already got a guy for that.
Oh.
And I'm already set up.
Oh, perfect. Let me ask you a question. How long have you been with him, if you don't mind me asking?
For a couple of years.
Pause. Okay. A lot of you guys are going to hate this. A lot of you guys, I've seen a lot of you guys post this in Facebook groups. That if they have an agent, that you're a scumbag if you try to take them?
Oh, I've seen those too. Yes.
Business is business, you guys. Business is business.
I remember the one guy you got around.
Well, business is business. I'm going to try to take the client if I can improve their plan. That's what it's about to me. If I can put them in a better situation than I found them at, that's what I care about.
Well, I care about that too, but when someone says they have an agent, I try to look at it from a different perspective at that point. Like, okay, is their agent doing everything they're supposed to? Because if
Right.
not, I want to be the agent that does more for them.
Just because they have an agent doesn't mean their agent is the best thing for them.
Right.
Would I feel like they get better service from us? I do feel that way because I'm super confident. Confidence. But that's not the point. I'm going to probe a little bit with that. Some people are like, oh, you have an agent, great. And they get off the phone. If they'll let me and they'll talk to me, I'll ask some follow-up questions. So I'd say, okay, you've had your agent a couple of years. How often does he talk to you?
Not much. I mean,
Has he talked to you since you signed up?
no, it feels like he just, one night stand deal. He did what he did and left.
One night stand. No senior's going
No,
to say
I know. I'm just saying.
that.
But no, I don't talk to him. I tried to reach out to him. I had some claims issues and he just kind of disappeared in the night.
Oh, well, I'm really sorry to hear that, Kelly. That's unfortunate. I mean, and truth be told, we see that probably more than you would think. And it's unfortunate. I mean, an agent's job is to provide long-term service to their clients and customers. But some people just kind of look at it like their job is done once they enroll you into something. And that's just not the way that we look at things here in our office.
Right.
I'm going to try to take that client, you guys. I get it, guys. We're all in this together. There's a lot of business out there, right? I could spend the next 25 years calling leads all over the country, and there's a good chance I won't run into any of your clients. That's how many people there are out there in Medicare.
Well,
But-
they're still pouring out into society too. Tons of people are turning 65 every day.
Right. So now here's where I would agree with you guys. If they're in the best situation possible and you're still trying to move them to a worse plan or something, you don't want to ever do that, right? You want to do something that's going to benefit the client. If they have great service from their agent as of now, and it's a situation where it's a carrier that allows you to do an agent of record letter, I'm probably not going to do that either because they're in a good situation. But if they're in a good plan, but their agent is a non-existent, they don't even know their name, let's say, I'm going to agent of record it if I can. You guys don't have to do that, but I look at things like, unless it's one of my agents, and if I see a weakness, if I see an opening, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try to take the client.
You've got to put bread on the table. It's a tough business.
Right. And this is another way I look at it, and it might sound harsh. If I'm in a position where I can take this person's client, there's something they're not doing right.
Well, yeah.
Right. There's
'Cause
something
if
they
they're-
could have done better
If
to
they're
keep
taken
that
care
client.
of, they're going to tell you to kick sand.
Right.
So,
So anyway, that's how I would handle that. Right. And I'm going to kind of slither my way in. Right. And so what's another one that you've run into a lot? There's usually 4 or 5 objections you hear over and over and over again. What would you say they'd be other than that? I have an agent.
I have an agent.
I've already got it picked out.
Already got it picked out.
I didn't fill out that card.
Yep.
What
Or
else?
just straight up, I am not interested, or hey, it is a total bad time. I can't talk to you. And then you keep trying to call them. They're like, no, it's still a bad time. Call me back. And they basically play phone tag until you give up.
Run around.
Yeah.
I would say with the timing of it,
Or their spouse.
their
I
spouse.
gotta
oh,
talk
there's-
to my wife.
I got to talk to my wife. Yeah. Spouse is the decision maker.
Or POA, power of attorney.
Yeah.
That one too. That one's really hard.
Well, how much time we got left? There's some other things I wanted to cover with you guys. That's how I make phone calls though, guys. I'm trying to gather information right then and there on the spot. I'm trying to figure out what they have because I know my market exceptionally well. You guys know your markets exceptionally well. So if I can find out what they have, and I can find out maybe like if they have a med sup, I can find out what they're paying. Like I'm going to cater my questions to the type of lead that I'm working. I'm going to try to gather as much information as possible because if I can't help that person, I don't want to waste an hour on them. And I don't want to waste their time either, right? I don't want to inconvenience them. So I feel like I'm doing them and myself a service by going right into the fact find.
Right.
And I feel like I've seen some people that they'll call up and they'll be like, "Hi, is this Kelly? Kelly, how are you doing today?" Someone called me up, I'd be like, "What the hell do you want?" I'd be like, "How am I doing?" I'd probably hang up on them because I know it's a bad salesperson. You guys got to think about things as if somebody was calling you. How would you react? Because we all get calls from salespeople.
Yeah.
How would you react? Right. And every now and then we get a person that kind of pushes back. They're like, "Why do you need to know all this information? Why are you asking all these questions?" And my answer to that is simple. I would say, "Well, Kelly, the reason why I'm asking these questions is because I'm trying to get a better idea of your situation to determine if there's anything I can do to help you. If there's anything that you can do to maybe be in a better situation." Right. That's kind of how I would approach some of those objections. But I want to spend some time on turning 65 real quickly. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the board, T65. So last year, some of you guys might remember this. And I want to focus, there's two more things I want to hit. There's turning 65 and another thing. So I'm trying to pack as much as I can into our time here. Last year, me and Stormy went to Florida for just a little short trip.
Few days.
Yeah, 3-4 days. First day, I spent the first 6 hours with Beige. It's a wonder Stormy didn't divorce me.
Well, there was like a few people we saw there. Is he the one that owned the call center?
Yeah, it's Beige.
Okay.
Medicare Bob.
Yeah.
So I spent the first 6 hours of our trip with Beige.
Yes.
And one thing that he told me that kind of helped me feel better about what we do is he's like, when I'm dealing with someone that's turning 65, there's certain people that try to do these super complex and super like in the weeds presentations, and they have to have this super duper slideshow. And he was like, "I don't do any of that. I do a T-chart." And that goes back to keep it simple. Do a T-chart. That's what I do. That's what I've been doing for years, right? Because I feel like if the more you complicate this, the more you're going to confuse them and lose them. A lot of these people don't want to be an expert in Medicare.
They just want to be an expert in their situation. And
They don't even want to be an expert in that.
They just want to know the bare minimum to make it
They want to know enough
Yeah.
to make a decision.
Yeah.
That's what they want to know. A lot of you guys are spending way too much time trying to show them what you know. And I get it. You want them to know that you are a credible source of information, but you're confusing them more than you are providing clarity. So Medicare Bob said, and we do the same thing, that when I'm dealing with a turning 65 person, I'm doing a T-chart. And that's it. I don't have any fancy slideshows. I don't have any fancy presentations. And same goes here for me. I've had the most success in my career doing a T-chart with people on the difference between Medicare Supplement on this side and Medicare Advantage on this side. So when I'm dealing with a turning 65 person, I'm telling them, and I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. I'm telling them, "Listen, Mrs. Johnson or Kelly or whoever I'm talking to, Miss Betty, everything you've ever heard about when it comes to Medicare falls into one of these two categories. And that's it. It's a really simple decision. It's not nearly as hard as you're making it out to be. You have Medicare Supplement on this side and Medicare Advantage on this side. And guess what, Mrs. Johnson? Chances are, depending on your insurance right now, that both of them are better than what you have right now." What Beige said, I think, and I'm going to quote him on this. He said, "It's good. It's good and great. Those are your options. Good and great. Because for the most part, there isn't really a bad choice, right? I mean, chances are their deductibles on their group plans and their work insurance are higher than their max out of pockets on the Medicare Advantage plan in a lot of areas. So I'm doing MedSup on one side. I'm doing Medicare Advantage on the other side, and I'm going through it. And I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. Now, I've been guilty over the years of going too in-depth on my presentation with people. Like one thing that Beige said, and I couldn't agree more with him. He said, and I've been guilty of this. I've tweaked it over the years and removed it from my presentation. But one thing he's like, if you're explaining to people that, as long as you've worked in the country for at least 10 years of your life, your Medicare Part A comes with no premium, you're telling them too much. And I agree with that. He says if you're talking about IRMA, you're telling them too much, right? A good way to approach that, because probably 9 out of 10 people are not dealing with IRMA, and 9 out of 10 people are not dealing with a Part A premium.
Yeah, IRMA's the Part B premium info, isn't it?
It's income related monthly adjustment,
Right.
IRMA. So what I would say is I would start off my presentation. I'd say, okay, listen, Mrs. Johnson, or whoever I'm talking to, everything that you get in terms of Medicare centers around what's known as original Medicare. Medicare Part A and Part B. There's 2 parts of Medicare that come from the government, Medicare Part A and Medicare Part B. And these are the only 2 parts of Medicare you get that come from the government. Everything else comes from an insurance company. Typically, Medicare Part A comes at a 0 cost to you. That's what you paid into through FICA taxes, right? Simple, easy. Medicare Part B normally is going to cost $170.10 a month. There are some exceptions. Normally, these people have gotten letters already by now, if they're turning 65, telling them they're going to have IRMA. So why are you telling every single person they need about IRMA if it only qualifies to a certain percentage of the population?
Right.
It's just unnecessary information. And I agree with that, right? I mean, you don't need to make them an expert. They don't need to be you. Some of you guys are doing your presentations as if you're teaching them how to go out and make sales themselves. You don't need to do this, you guys, and you'll make more sales by keeping it simple. So I'd say Medicare Part A covers hospitalization, room and board. Medicare Part B covers the medical expenses. A good way to think of it, Miss Betty, is Part A and Part B fit like 2 pieces of a puzzle. They work together to give you medical coverage. And that's what Medicare Part A and B do. Now, they don't cover 100% of what Medicare of medical costs. They cover typically about 80%, and they leave 20% behind for you to pay. And Medicare does not have a max out of pocket. So that 20% out of pocket could potentially be anything. Medicare also doesn't cover things like dental, vision, hearing, prescription drugs. So those are the holes we're trying to fill. That's as deep as I'm going to get into with this, unless they ask me about follow-up questions. And if they want to know more, I'll let you know. I think you guys should be able to get through this in 15 minutes, right? 15 minutes. You should be able to get through this MedSupmer's Medicare Advantage presentation. And if your presentation is 30 minutes for this, go through it, write it out, record yourself doing it, and try to find areas that you can remove things. Okay, this was unnecessary. I don't need this. Shorten it, tighten it, and you're going to keep people's attention much longer. In my opinion, I think about 12 to 15 minutes, maybe 16 minutes in, they start to tune you out.
Yeah.
I would. If you were giving me a presentation and we were about 20 minutes in, what happens between 20 minutes to 40 minutes, I'm not going to remember any of it. Just being honest with you. And your clients are the same way. So one last thing I wanted to cover is when you're making calls. And I've talked about this a lot on YouTube videos, so it might be redundant for some of you, but I think it's important if you haven't heard me talk about this before. When you're making calls, if you're doing phone sales, if you're making calls to make an appointment, whatever the case might be, when you're talking to someone over the phone, we're working leads over the phone, one thing that you don't have at your disposal is there's a lot of communication that you don't have that's nonverbal, right? When I'm face-to-face with somebody, I can look them in the eyes, right? I can look them in the eyes. I can make eye contact. I can smile. You can see my pearly whites, right? I can have good posture, right? I'm standing up straight. I'm a beacon of energy, right? My body language, right? My hand gestures. I got these awesome hand gestures. I can't remember what movie that's from.
I don't either.
I got these awesome hand gestures, but there's so much communication that's not verbal.
You mean like body language?
Yes, body language, everything I just said, that you lose when you're over the phone. It doesn't mean it has to be a disadvantage. The way you make up for those things is you have to nail your tonalities. on phone sales. Jordan Belfort wrote a great book called Way of the Wolf. That's where I learned a lot of my tonality trainings and, doing some of his training. Now, whether you like the guy or not, he knows his stuff with that stuff. I'm not a big fan of him as a person, but he knows his stuff when it comes to that stuff. And that's where I learned a lot of my tonality training. So you have to nail your tones. So when I'm getting on the phone with Kelly, I'm going to say, "Hi, is this Kelly?" Excited, enthusiastic, smiling, because it comes through on the phone. They can hear it in your voice. She's going to say, "Yes." I'm going to say, "Hi, Kelly. My name is Christian." I'm bringing it down a little bit. "The reason for my call today, Kelly," and I'm controlling my tone. I'm enunciating certain words in a way that they just make more of an impact when I'm on the phone with them. And I think that's how you really win at phone sales, because you lose on all of that other types of communication, but you can emphasize more your tones, your enunciation, and your enthusiasm level in your voice. That's what's going to come through on phone sales. That's what they're going to hear on the other end of the phone. Okay, we got 10 minutes left, guys. I'm going to turn it over to you guys for questions. Anything that you guys want to know, anything that we didn't cover that you might want me to cover. I feel like every week we're trying to fit a lot of things into a short amount of time. Maybe we should turn these into hour and a half. I don't know, but okay. Michael, do you do Zoom calls to share with your screen with them? Almost never. We had one yesterday.
Yeah.
That was a Zoom call. The guy couldn't get in, couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know. I feel like doing a Zoom call is adding an extra step for them. And part of keeping it simple is to remove steps. So I've done them before, but only when someone actually requests them. I don't try to do them because I feel like it just complicates things for them and for me. I think just over the phone is better. When was the last time you talked to your agent? Yep. There you go. Most baseball players bat between 20 and 30%. Yep, absolutely. There are some carriers that do voice scopes, but I use them only as a last resort. Yeah, I agree. I'm not a big fan of the voice scopes. Patricia St. Louis came to our office a couple weeks ago, and she was writing up some apps that she had been working on for a while. And the person couldn't figure out the text scope. They didn't have email. And so she spent like an hour trying to get these voice scopes to work with Aetna. Like, remember that?
Yes.
She kept calling and the call kept dropping. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of voice scopes. They're my absolute last resort. I'd rather do anything but that almost. Is there a way to do a voice scope instead of having to text someone a form? Yeah. So just talked about it there for a second. Most carriers have one at this point, a voice scope. We get a copy of this video for our agents. Absolutely. Lori, what I'll do is I will send anybody that wants, this video will be in Six Figure Medicare University, but if you want it in another format, just let me know. And I can accommodate that, but it will be in Six Figure Medicare University. So I'll have it up in there by the end of the day. Kelly, can you recommend a CRM for me? That's funny. Perfect. All right. Let's see what other questions you guys have. Okay. Wesley said, if you do Zoom calls, check out crankwheel.com. It's much easier to have someone sign in. I will look into that. I don't know. I just feel like, because I used to use Radius Bob. This is just my opinion. If it works for you guys, then by all means, there's more than one way to skin a cat, but I used to use Radius Bob, and it had a really easy screen share thing to where I could just email them a link and they click a link and boom, they can see my screen. It was much easier than Zoom. And they still have that. Radius Bob is a killer CRM, by the way. We don't use it for a couple of reasons, but it's a good CRM. I just feel like I have more success just talking to them over the phone. You know what I mean? Because they're doing all kinds of things over the phone. They're ordering prescriptions over the phone these days, especially post-pandemic, right? For anybody that wasn't doing things over the phone during the pandemic, a lot of them are, right? Like we've been arguing about the grocery store lately. I've been trying to get her to let me order groceries online and have them bring them to us. She's like, no, I want to go to the store. I'm like, oh, it's so dumb. They'll bring it to us. And I think the seniors are the same way. They live in the same world that we do. But if it works for you, then great. It's just for me personally, I find it's easier to just talk about it over the phone myself, and maybe I'll email them some stuff to look at after, or whatever the case might be. I would like to see your comparison between SUP and Advantage on the T-chart. So Betty, I have, can you email me when this is done, Betty? I have a video where I went into it in depth. Like it's like a 45-minute video, and I explained everything about why I say this, why I say that. This one
Is
you
that
can.
the one with Tara?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I can send that to you after this. Shoot me an email and remind me, please. Thank you so much, guys. Any other questions? Anything else you guys want to know? I'm all ears. Anything you guys need help with on this? Okay. My pleasure, guys. Thank you for being here. All right, you guys. So I'm going to close it out here, and appreciate you guys. Thank you all for being here. And I guess, as always, if you guys ever have any requests of topics you'd like me to cover on these Thursdays, I'm all ears. I want to make sure that we're training on what you guys need help with the most. Of course, we'll be back next Thursday every week, and appreciate you guys, and hope you got a lot out of this. We will see you next week, and have a great rest of your week and weekend.